Welcome to episode 51 of Will These Comics Make Good Film and Television Show? We have sword and sorcery and apocalyptic stuff all over the place. Let's see what we've got. Tune in. All right, we are back with the new episode. We got sword and sorcery, we got Marvel, and then we have a whole bunch of independents. And when I say Marvel, I mean 20th Century Fox. So I am your host, Frank Zanca. I am an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, and a working line producer as well. Hopefully soon, like I said in my last episode, I did get a script which I have to start reading tonight for breaking it down and seeing. The producer said that there was, effects and locations that we had to deal with on a lower budget. I do a lot of low budget stuff, which might be all that we're going to see lately, because the big budget films are not coming out due to the strikes. I think everybody got pushed back for a year, so we might only be seeing independent films in 2024 for the most part. All right, so let's jump into the Planet of the Apes. But beware! Beware the Planet of the Apes! I don't know how that... I guess they kind of ran out of names. I don't know, because... Beware a planet? I don't know how you do that. So, quick story about Beware. I used to live in Tennessee for a couple of years. And you travel through all these, very narrow roads with, a rock face right next to you. And the sign literally says, beware falling rocks. What are you going to do? If there's a whole bunch of rocks falling on your car, there's nothing you can do. That's the stupidest sign ever. If you see a bunch of falling rocks, the only thing you can do is step on the gas or step on the brake, but no matter what's going to happen, something's going to hit you. So I really wish there was a sign later on that said, you made it, but the guy behind you's fucked. So anyway, I know I went totally tangent on that one. All right, so let's jump on Beware the Planet of the Apes. I was a big fan as a kid of the Planet of the Apes series. With Cornelius and General Ursus and I forgot the Zaius and all those guys, and then there was Taylor, the human guys. I could give a crap about the human guys. Because for me it was all about ape versus ape stuff. And even the figures, like, they were Amigo figures, so they had like the leather feel to the cloaks and to their coats and stuff like that. It was good stuff. I felt like I think Malcolm McDowell actually played Cornelius. I don't know if he did in the TV show, but I know he did it in the movies. But I have very fond memories of the look and feel of the makeup. They really were able to do makeup really well back then. I mean, they knew how to take something on a lower budget and make it look amazing, because TV back then did not have the budgets that they have today. And I know that they were taking them from the movies. They took all the designs and everything else from the movies. But still, they had to continue making the masks, because the mask had to, stick to the actual actors. And I think for the most part, they just changed this so that the actors could still emote through their eyes and stuff like that. But they also had, these head pieces for the hair and stuff to that effect. Then when they remade it with Marky Mark and stuff like that, it didn't have the same look and feel, and it didn't really work. And then they do the stuff now with Caesar and stuff like that, and they make them real apes and real chimps, and I'm like, no, man, I like the humanoid-looking ones. So to me, even the newer stuff doesn't live up to the older stuff as far as the look and feel of it. So let's jump into this. I was very confused about the timeline of this. If you're not familiar with the first movie, Taylor and his group of astronauts lands on a planet. And they think it's an alien planet, and they're surprised that they can breathe and that there's horses and all this other stuff. But they're immediately go into like a human community, and none of the humans can talk, and suddenly they're raided. And when they're raided by apes on horseback, and he's like, what the hell? So they're captured, and again, none of the humans can talk. So when Taylor can talk, and that's Charlton Heston's character, they're surprised. But the scientists, the chimps are the scientists, and like the gorillas are the military guys. They're the cops and all that stuff, and that's why Ursus, is a darker color than the chimps, because that's how they divided them up. But that was pretty smart. And then the orangutan is Dr. Zaius, and he's like the head of the scientists. And the scientists kind of, have more of an open mind about humans than the military people do. And I think that was like a reflection of, the society as it was then, and probably even now. But anyway, so we end up finding out later that they actually crash landed on Earth, but hundreds of years after they had left. And he realizes this because he travels on this coastline and he sees the Statue of Liberty, it's a very famous scene, in the ground. So there was some kind of a apocalyptic war, nuclear, and it basically destroyed everybody, all the humans, for the most part, and the apes were mutated over time, and they became the dominant species. That's really an amazing story, really, if you think about it. It's very, very well done. But I was confused by this because we have the crash of Taylor and his group, right? And the female character that he meets is named Nova. And this has the basic costume, but the colors are not right. The vests and everything else were more were darker. And here we have Ursus on the bottom, and he's got this cool little hat on. I had all the figures. I had the treehouse and all this stuff. So it was pretty amazing. And so Lucius is I think Zira. I think it's Zira. So Zira and Cornelius are the chimps that are scientists, and she has a nephew or whatever else is always kind of getting in trouble. But here we're introduced to Nova. But if Nova is here, where is Taylor? If he's crashed, one of the first people he meets is Nova. And Nova is by herself throughout this entire issue. So I'm very confused by the timeline because we don't see Taylor in here at all. But anyway, so he runs into, and even gives you a thing of like the first three movies, and it's Mark Guggenheim that wrote this. But and they did a really good job. I thought the art was decent in here, portraying the old movies and TV shows. So anyway, so Lucius ends up running into Nova and is basically trying to study her, but then he disappears. There's a thing called a forbidden zone, and they think that he went in there. So Zaya said, no, you guys cannot go look for him. And of course, Zira and Cornelius decide to do that anyway, and they run into Nova when they're tracking him. And Nova, since she can't talk, basically talks in sign language to trying to point them in the right direction, and she goes with them. So, and then they find this whole underground area that she's living in, basically, or hiding in, I should say. because she hides down there from the apes, and they find out, or we find out, that it's a New York City subway, which I also think is kind of cool. So, she tries to attack them because she's afraid, and then once they say Lucius' name, she recognizes it, and she decides to go with them, like I said. So they travel for quite a bit of time until they kind of get to the Forbidden Zone, and they decide whether they're going to go in there or not. And we get this nice little spread of Yankee Stadium. So that's kind of cool. And I guess it's a human settlement in there, and Zira's in the crosshairs. So pretty good stuff. We have a new Planet of the Apes movie coming out. So if you're going to say, well, this make a good movie or television show, of course it's obviously still going on. It's been going on for years. It's an IP that's never died. And now that Fox is owned by Disney, of course, Marvel's publishing it. But I really wish they would go back to the old look and feel. And I hope this is the last Caesar one we get. It just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't. The new Caesar stuff and whatever else. Like the first movie was okay. I liked the first movie that they did when they did the realistic version. But I really wish they'd go back to the mutated apes that are more human-like. So hopefully it's the last one. Maybe they can. Whoever takes it over will go into that direction, and we can see that other world. So anyway, it's been good, pretty good so far. Again, I'm a fan of that. Though a lot of people aren't a fan because it's the old stuff is very old. I mean, that's late 60s, early 70s. So it's old. And I think the TV show was on around the late 70s, which would put around the same time as Star Wars. So I was collecting all the Star Wars. This is the figures from Mego. If you're not familiar with Mego, they were the 12-inch figures that were very articulated. And then they would break, like they would have like not really like a rubber band, but a thing that connected. It was very smart, actually, but not very viable for kids. So it had like a bungee cord, I want to say, but a very thin bungee cord that held the head and all the arms and legs into the body. So everything was connected. But of course, after a certain amount of play, even if you were gentle with them, over time the thing would snap. So my dad came up with an idea of actually taking a rubber band, cutting it, linking them all together, pulling it, and then tying it back up once it's inside, and pulling it through. No, what he would do, yes, he would pull it through the leg, and then recut it, and then tie the leg in, and then retie it, and then and of course, the rubber band would break eventually again, too. So they weren't really well made as far as that's concerned, but the articulation was unheard of at the time. That was really, there was G.I. Joe had some articulation and stuff like that, but when they went back to the 6-inch figures, they never had the articulation that thing did back in the day. So anyway, that's my little tirade there on Planet of the Apes. All right, so anyway, I'm liking it so far. So let's go into Conan. So this whole series has been very good. It's by Titan, and it's I forgot the guy's name that is writing it. Hold on, right here. Yeah, Jim Zub. Okay, I thought I was wrong. So it's Jim Zub that's writing it, and this latest story, like the first few issues, had a very 70s feel to it. Then we got a new artist, and I think this artist is actually different from the last artist because I actually like this art. I mean, look at the face on the girl. That's pretty amazing. So anyway, he was a pirate at some time when this is taking place. So he's hooked up with some thieves. I think he was part of I think he was like a slave at the time or whatever. But anyway, they're commissioned to go into a very heavily armed area and steal this, which is amazing because Red Sonja, which we're going to do next, also has to do with a crystal that's like cursed. And so both of them kind of have to do with a crystal that's cursed. But again, look at the artwork on this. But anyway, they're commissioned to go in there, and I think the artwork's a lot better than it was in the last issue. I'd be surprised if it was the same person. But so they get in there, and he remembers that no, you're not supposed to touch this thing with your bare hands, or it's like cursed. So naturally, the last issue, we see everything popping up, and here's the continuation of all of these undead things popping up. And if it touches you, it screws with you, and one of their guys gets touched, he's like, just like that. So it's like, I'm getting touched, don't touch me, you're gross. And I guess Silver, it's kind of like Supernatural, the TV show with Silver. Silver! Not the horse. That's a Lone Ranger joke. But anyway, they try to escape, and he's carrying the guy, and then they run into a whole bunch of priests on the way out the door that try to attack them, and then we got this nice 2-page spread of Conan just kicking ass. Good stuff, man. It's really nice. And the things are still following them, and they confront Conan, and they're like kind of impressed with him, so they don't really attack him. But then he throws one of the guys out the window so they can escape out the window. And they go and deliver the thing, and there's something wrong with it. And he's like, there's something in the middle missing or whatever else. And they're like, look, man, we just risked our lives. You're going to pay us whether you like it or not. So he's like, yeah, okay, we'll pay you. And then they go out drinking to celebrate their newfound wealth. And he's still thinking back to, they asked the girl that was with him. But then the other female thief, he has sex with the other female thief. And in the dark, and he rolls over, and we see that she's not really feeling okay. She, I guess she was touched or whatever else, and it's not going to be looking too good for Conan. I hope he had fun while it lasted. So anyway, this particular story, I think there's a lot better Conan stories than this one. The last one really had no story at all. This one has a story about a cursed thing. So I love Conan. I think there should definitely be a new Conan movie. But this storyline, it's fun while I'm reading it, but I don't think it'll make a good film or television show. All right, so let's jump into Red Sonja number 6, because we're on 6. They both started at the same time. I think they were both in the New Comic Book Day at the same time also. But this is Thorin Grunbeck, which I thought was a man, but it's actually a woman writer. And this one's been pretty good too. So this one here is about, again, she has a cursed stone or whatever, crystal. And there's a guy that he's mentally commanding these people that I guess have been touched with the stone or whatever else. They have something to do with it. And she's trying to stop him from invading, but she won't give the stone up to anyone. And it keeps telling you that it's going to corrupt her, that kind of thing. And this guy's just on a warpath, and he's like some kind of a religious leader or something to that effect. But everybody that's under his command, I guess that's influenced by this thing, has these, bleeding eyes. And we get some interesting stuff here that I did not see coming. So Kulan Gath, which is her sorcerer nemesis, he keeps taking over bodies. And he's helping her get into this locked area. And I guess she was hurt. And she ends up being transported because she has the stone. Which we get some nice artwork in there. It's not as good as some of the other stuff from the previous issues. But anyway, she meets this guy and he's got one eye, so that becomes important. I kind of like that. So he's like, let me tell you about me, you know what's going on, and blah, blah, blah. And she basically just sits in the chair and she's like, I know you're going to tell me. So let's just get on with it. I thought that was pretty good. So there's all of these people here, and I guess he's granted them, he's a god, and he's granted them all wishes based on the stone. And he keeps saying that every time I give them something, they always want more. So they're never satisfied with what they originally asked for. And I guess the more they ask for, they end up doing very, very bad things, and they're stuck there in that afterworld. And meanwhile, the battle is taking place at the other kingdom that she was there to protect, which obviously is not going very well. And she's like, look, I'm not going to ask for anything from myself. No matter how many times you ask me, I don't need anything. And he's like, oh, bullshit. Everybody wants something. She's like, well, I don't want something for myself, but I want to free these people. All these people that you have locked in here are not fulfilling any kind of life, so you need to let them go. He's like, well, if that's what you want, go ahead and say it. So she does. She opens a portal up so that they can all leave. And she's surprised that they don't. Many of them don't leave. And he's like, why aren't they leaving? And he says, because they've done such bad things that they don't want to face it. I thought that was very interesting. But she does open their mind at the time. So all the ones that are fighting kind of stop fighting. And the big baddie sees the portal open, and he goes through it. Or sees her come through it. No, he comes in. That's right, he does come in. And so they start fighting. And Conan God finally gets his opportunity to go back into the real world, which was his plan from the beginning. So she beats him and she goes through the portal now with him. And she's like, it's over, blah, 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 we win, go, all the people that have been through the portal, it's time for you to actually live. And, there's this pandemonium. But the bad guy takes the opportunity to knock her off the thing. And they continue their battle, and he wounds her pretty badly. She takes a arrow. It's actually an arrow to the shoulder, and then he cuts her in the midsection, and the god comes through as well. So she splits his head in half. It's in half. He's pretty dead. That guy is pretty dead. But she's wounded, and he says, well, now is your opportunity to tell me what you want. And she says, no, I don't want anything. In fact, here is your stone back. And she puts it into his eye. So now he has two eyes, and she's dying. And he's very perplexed by this. This is not what he expected. So he ends up saving her. And I guess he's like continuing his life in the real world, but he healed her. Which I thought that was all really good stuff. And he had brought her to a monastery. And she's like, I'm with the whole nun thing going on. What's going on? And she's just like, I want out of here. And that's pretty much the end of that run. I really like this. It actually adds quite a bit to her character, to how selfless she actually is, and how she gave it's kind of like the Aladdin thing where Aladdin allows the genie to leave, to be free and unshackled, and she basically did the same thing to the god. So I like it. Would it make a good film and television? I actually like this story quite a bit. I know I don't know how well everybody else is liking it, but I think there's an actual progression to the character that we don't normally see, and and a heroism that's not just, oh, I'm swinging my sword around. This was actually a selfless moment where she could die and was dying and said, okay, I'm done. And she's, in fact, at the end, she says, you should have let me die. Especially when she found herself in the nunnery there. So anyway, let's recap. So I'm going to say yes to Red Sonja. It's been pretty good. Yes to Conan, but not particularly this story, because I think it's too bland. And yes to Planet of the Apes, but I don't really know how this fits. But I really wish they'd go back to the old look. I think the old look was original, and I really think that the whole CG thing needs to just go away at this point. That's it for me, but thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And remember that I have Lords of LA coming at the end of the year. End of the month for a late pledge if you didn't get to pledge. And then on top of that, I personally am working really hard on getting the card game with me and Mark Spears done. I've been working on it nonstop, night and day, play testing, all that stuff. And I'm really liking where it's going, and I liked a lot of the changes that the notes that have come in and the changes that have been made. So I'm very excited about it. All right, well, that's it for me. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one. Check out some of my other videos. Give me the thumbs up if you can. If you haven't subscribed, why the hell not? Subscribe! And I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, bye-bye.